Bishop T.D. Jakes, the world-renowned pastor, author, and spiritual leader, has recently been at the center of swirling rumors about his health. For months, whispers have grown louder. Is he hiding something? Is his family finally breaking their silence? Today, shocking new revelations have emerged straight from those closest to him. And trust me, you're going to want to hear every detail because what his family finally admitted will leave you stunned. For years, Bishop T.D. Jakes has been a towering figure in both the church and the wider world. His sermons reach millions, his conferences sell out arenas, and his influence stretches far beyond the pulpit. But recently, conversations about him have shifted from his leadership to something far more personal and concerning: his health. Questions have been rising everywhere. Why has he appeared less frequently at certain events? Why do some of his latest public appearances show a different side of the bishop than many were used to seeing? And why, after months of silence, did his family finally decide to reveal what's really going on? To understand why concerns about Bishop Jakes's health have caused such a stir, we need to look at who he is and the weight his presence carries. For decades, Bishop Jakes has been more than just a preacher. He's been a cultural icon. His ministry, the Potter's House, grew from a small congregation to a megachurch with tens of thousands of members, not to mention millions tuning in online. His books have become bestsellers, his conferences have inspired countless lives, and his media presence has kept him in the spotlight for years. Bishop Jakes is not only a pastor, he's a brand, a household name, and to many a spiritual father. That's why, when someone of his magnitude begins to show even the slightest signs of health struggles, the world notices. Every change in his voice, every pause in his walk, and every absence from a scheduled appearance sparks conversation. Behind the success, Bishop Jakes has been no stranger to challenges. Over the years, he has spoken openly about stress, exhaustion, and the toll leadership can take. Pastors are still human, and the scale of his responsibilities, traveling, writing, preaching, can wear anyone down. So, when questions began rising about his well-being, they weren't just idle whispers, they came from people who genuinely cared. Rumors online ranged from exhaustion to more serious conditions, but nothing was confirmed. That uncertainty left followers anxious. And here's where it got interesting. While Bishop Jakes himself stayed mostly private, his family recently stepped in, revealing details that had until now been carefully guarded. The first public concerns weren't dramatic. They were subtle. His booming, energetic voice sometimes sounded softer, with more pauses for breath. His stage presence, once commanding, seemed more careful. Social media lit up with questions. Was he tired, overworked, or was something more serious going on? By 2022 and 2023, rumors spread that he had quietly stepped back from some commitments. Conferences and speaking engagements saw substitutes filling in. Though his sermons continued online, many wondered if health issues were keeping him away. The speculation grew louder. Some said decades of non-stop ministry had caught up to him. Others hinted at stress, or even unverified medical conditions. Still, the Jakes family remained silent, which only fueled more questions. Then came the turning point. After months of whispers, Bishop Jakes's family finally spoke out. Their words brought both relief and new uncertainty. Their revelations didn't come as a dramatic press conference, but through heartfelt remarks at family-led events and private conversations that reached the public. Sarah Jakes Roberts, his daughter, hinted at what many suspected: Bishop Jakes had indeed been facing health challenges that required attention. According to the family, it wasn't one single diagnosis, but years of stress, responsibility, and physical strain building up. They explained that for decades, he had pushed through fatigue, often hiding his struggles behind powerful sermons. But eventually, his health had to become the priority. The family insisted this was not a sudden medical emergency. Instead, they described it as a season of recalibration, a pause that would allow him to heal and refocus. They framed it not as a setback, but a necessary step for him to continue long-term. Fans who feared the worst, serious illness or retirement, breathed a sigh of relief. Still, the honesty sparked deeper questions. Would the Potter's House see a leadership shift? Would Sarah and Cora take on bigger roles? Was this the beginning of a transition for Bishop Jakes? The family's openness highlighted a deeper truth: even leaders of faith are vulnerable. Strength isn't the absence of weakness, but the wisdom to pause and heal. The family also hinted that Bishop Jakes's transparency could shape his ministry moving forward, turning his struggles into testimony. But some insiders whispered that not everything had been shared publicly. Could there be more to the story? If so, what would that mean for his role going forward? At the Potter's house, members had already sensed changes. Guest speakers filled in more often, leadership was being shared, and Cora Jakes Roberts was stepping into a greater role. This sparked conversations about succession, a heavy word in church leadership. Beyond the church, his conferences began shifting too, with Jakes sharing the platform more intentionally. His public image also began to change. Once seen only as a strong, untouchable figure, he now appeared more human, more relatable. For many, this vulnerability deepened their connection to him, but it also raised pressure. Would he retire early? Would he fully hand leadership to Cora, or simply continue at a slower pace? Behind the scenes, insiders say changes are already being implemented. Leadership structures are being reinforced, media projects reassessed, and conferences redesigned to lighten his load. Yet, those close to him insist he has no plans to retire. This, they say, is a season of slowing down, not stepping down. Still, his health revelations have reshaped how people view his ministry. What once seemed unshakable now feels fragile. With that comes fear, uncertainty, but also hope that his legacy will live on through the leaders he has raised. And as with any figure of global influence, the story has spilled far beyond his church walls. News of his health quickly spread across social media, podcasts, and mainstream outlets. Hashtags calling for prayer trended. Supporters filled his pages with love and testimonies. Generational reactions varied. Older followers expressed concern, while younger fans admired the honesty. Media outlets framed the story in broader cultural terms, connecting it to pastoral burnout and the toll of leadership. Support poured in, but so did critics who questioned whether the family was downplaying a bigger issue. Fellow pastors weighed in too, some calling for prayer, others pointing to this as a moment for generational transition. In many ways, Bishop Jakes's health story became symbolic of a larger conversation about leadership, health, and vulnerability. His story wasn't just about him, it was about the crisis of burnout in ministry worldwide. Yet, questions still remain. Is this truly just a pause for rest and recalibration, or is something deeper still being kept private? One thing is certain, Bishop T.D. Jakes is now at the center of a global conversation. His name is on timelines, trending lists, and headlines everywhere, and the world is watching closely.